Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. So welcome to our Saturday session. We will have a session in the evening because of these time differences, but doesn't matter. We'll continue on our mission, the chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita, and we will start today from verse number 11. So before we start the verse number 11, I just thought I'll make one small explanation, because that explanation will be useful in all the verses which we will cover today. Now, this is also when we discussed Mandukya Upanishad, and that is also relevant here. Now, the question is, how do we actually disassociate our mind and our senses from our actions? That's not an easy process to disassociate the two. And that is the crux of the verses which we will be covering today. So mind and sense organs being part of the human body structure, how do we disassociate? Now, the best example of this is like when we are in dream sleep, when we are sleeping and having dreams. At that time, our mind and senses are still working, and therefore we create two different worlds, a world of our own and the rest of the world. In the present state, the waking state, we have the world of our own and rest of the world. We see the whole world. Similarly, in the dream state, we create a new world. This world is destroyed, but we create a new world because the mind gets fragmented into two parts. One part becomes the self, that is I, and the second part becomes the rest of the dream. Now, in that dream, you are a player and you interact like you do in your normal life. You are interacting with your friends and you are enjoying certain privileges, and you are also suffering, and you are having all the pains and pleasures in a dream which you do in the normal course of life. So the mind is still there. The sense organs are there in subtle form. They are not operating in the sthula avastha, in the visible form which we do in Jagrat avastha, in waking state. But those functions are still there, and we saw that in Mandukya Upanishad that all the 19 gates of the body, or 19 principal organs of the body, are operating there. So, but when we go into deep sleep, neither the mind nor the sense organs are operating, and therefore we get disassociated completely from the world. The world does not exist while you are existing, but the world gets completely disconnected from you. So that is the state which is possible to be achieved in waking state, that you are there, your mind and sense organs are there, but you can disconnect yourself with the world by acting in such a way that the mind and sense organs will not impact on you. And if that impact is not there, then naturally you will not have the reaction of your actions, because then there are no actions. So this is how Lord Krishna is explaining here in a very subtle way. And this was also said to some extent in one of the previous verses. But in today's verses, it will come very clearly. So let us go on verse number 11 now. Verse number 11 says that कर्मयोगी ममत्व बुद्धि रहित केवल इंद्रिय मन और बुद्धि द्वारा, शरीर द्वारा अपनी सारी आसक्ति को त्याग कर अंतःकरण के लिए, शुद्धि के लिए कार्य करते हैं। नाउ आसक्ति को त्यागना, दैट इज मन से आसक्ति को त्यागना, इंद्रिय से आसक्ति को त्यागना, बुद्धि से आसक्ति को त्यागना। ये इसमें संस्कृत में लिखा है कायेन मनसा बुद्धिया। केवल्य, केवल्य मीन्स टू आइसोलेट फ्रॉम ऑल ऑफ देम, एंड देन there is a word indriyapi, that from all these you isolate yourself and then you work only for the purification of your inner self. So that is possible only when we can isolate ourselves from the world. Now that process of isolation is not a physical process, it's entirely mental process, because you are living in this world. So physically you cannot isolate yourself, but mentally you can. And this is what Krishna is saying, that once you are able to attain that, then your inner self will be purified completely. Now that purification of inner self is directly linked to the activities of our mind and sense organs. So the first thing here we have to distinguish that I am separate, my body complex is separate. This mind body complex has its own existence. That is the first step. And then we do not get ourselves involved into the worldly activities mentally or from sense organs while we are doing everything else. Asakti is the word, key word here. The Sanskrit word here is sangam tyaktva. Sangam tyaktva means that you will not get associated with them. This is the key phrase here. So this is how we have to use the example of the Mandukya Upanishad here, that how we can isolate our sense organs and mind. We do that very often. Actually, we do not realize it, but we do it. We are walking around, for example, in the market. There are thousands of things in the market. There are hundreds of people who are walking around. But you are not getting involved with any one of them. You are getting involved only in the things which you are interested in. You see, this is how it happens. You have, for example, you are interested in a t-shirt. Now you will only look at t-shirt, rest of things will not matter to you. So you are already, sangam tektva from the rest of the things. We do that all the time. But certain things in which we get involved, we are not able to isolate that. That is what we need to do. Okay, that is a need for us. We need to wear clothing, we buy it, but we don't have to get, attached to that. Whatever we get, we accept it. Whatever the universe provides us, we accept it and move forward. That is the prime concept. That whenever you are doing any activity, you consider yourself as a small instrument of the Almighty, which is supposed to perform that activity, and that's end of it. I think if we can take that attitude, then things will become clear. Now, let me give you an example in this respect. The earth is a very, very small, I would say not even a dot in this universe. Not even a small little dot. There are, I believe there are millions of galaxies, maybe billions of galaxies. And in one galaxy, there are billions of suns, the solar systems. And in one solar system, there are planets and, satellites and all that. So our solar system is part of one of those galaxies that is called Akash Ganga. In Akash Ganga, there are millions of solar systems. We are one of those solar systems out of millions. And in that, even in that solar system, The Earth is a very small little, dot, because other planets in the solar system are much larger. The sun itself is many, many times larger. Actually, several 100,000 times larger than the Earth itself. And on the Earth, what is we? We are a small little dot even on the Earth. If you see from the sky, from the airplane, our existence doesn't even figure on that. So, being such a small little entity in this universe, even then we feel that we are the doer. That is the problem we have. If we realize that this whole universe is, infinite, and it's much larger, much beyond our imagination, and somebody is running this universe, what is my role? I'm not even a small little dot in this whole process. If we come to realize that, then that doer, that I am the doer, and then our association of sense and mind will completely disturbed at least once. And once you meditate on that, then slowly, slowly you would be able to isolate that you are nothing in this world. You have been sent here for some, you know, a small little contribution, and that contribution is also decided by the Supreme Lord, who regulates this whole large universe, and we do that activity just as yajna, as we discussed in the earlier chapter. So if we can correlate all these two, three things, then it would be easy to, you know, detach mind, senses, and body from the activities we are doing. And those activities, then they will convert into a purification process of our own self. Because the purification will start only when disassociate with the disassociation of mind, body, and senses from our actions. So this is what Lord Krishna has said here, that अंतःकरण की शुद्धि जब शुरू होगी, जब आप अपने मन, बुद्धि, इंद्रिय और शरीर को अपने कर्मों से अलग कर लोगे. So this is what we have to, it डिटैच कर लोगे. अलग का मतलब ये नहीं कि आप without mind, body, and senses you cannot do the action. Actions have to be done there, but you are not attached to them. You are considering yourself as part of the holistic thing. Like, for example, my hand. If he thinks that I am the one who is doing everything, then it is wrong, because there is the whole body system involved here. The whole body acts, then my hand acts. If my mind, if my consciousness, my thinking, my desire, all those things do not act, then my hand cannot act. The hand acts only because of the whole process. Similarly, we act because of the whole holistic process of this universe, not because of our own self. And you will realize, I have realized this in my life, that most of the things which you want to do, they do not happen. The samasti wants them. That way things happen. The things happen on their own. There's your own process in which that things keep happening. Even if we take the example of, for example, Taiwan state. Now, a situation arises because of multiple factors. Hundreds and thousands of factors come together to make a particular situation happen. And then things move, and then they take their own rhythm. So that's how it happens. So I think we should not feel that we are the doer, and we should disassociate our body mind complex from the activities, from the actions. Now the next verse is verse number 12. कर्म योगी कर्मों के फल का त्याग करके भगवत प्राप्ति रूप शांति को प्राप्त होता है, और सकाम पुरुष कामना की प्रेरणा से फल में आसक्त होकर बनता है. Now this is further explanation of the same thing, that if you are able to disassociate yourself from the result of your action, and if you don't have any expectations, you are doing this as yajna. You are doing your karma not because you are doing, because the samasti has made you one of the small little instrument in this whole universe, that you will do this particular part and you are doing as a result. And that is why, if we can continue to this in this form, then you will not be attached to the results of your actions, and you will attain the Almighty. You will remain united with the Almighty. And the person who is having desires, who is having expectations, he will be bound by the results of the karma, and he will have to come back in this world uh, because of those results. The results are the seeds, and seeds must fructify, and whenever they get appropriate environment, they fructify, and then they again come into life. And that is what happens to us. The results of our action become seed, and those seeds bring us back into this world. So this is how Krishna has mentioned this in a very beautiful way. Now, these all the 10 verses which we are going to cover, these are primarily on this particular aspect today. अंतःकरण जिसके वश में है, ऐसा सांख्य योग का आचरण करने वाला पुरुष न करता हुआ और न करवाता हुआ ही नौ द्वारों वाले शरीर रूपी घर में सब कर्मों को मन से त्याग कर आनंद पूर्वक सच्चिदानंद घन परमात्मा में स्थित रहता है. Now this is a very comprehensive and very interesting verse. First, we should understand what is Naudware Pure Dehi. That is the Sanskrit word. Naudware Pure Dehi. What is that? You see, Puri means a city like Jaipur, Udaipur, Singapore, or Kanpur. Pur is a Sanskrit word which means city. So why do we call this body city? The body is called city because this is the most populated city in the world actually. There's no city which has that much population, not even Mumbai or Tokyo or any other city in the world. In our body, we have at least, that's what scientists now say, at least 1 trillion cells. There could be more. And each cell has its own life. So these are all, you can call them the species of life. So 1 trillion people live inside your body. That is one part of it. Secondly, inside your body, you have all the machineries which you see outside in the world. For example, your body produces 50, 60,000 different chemicals. With the food you eat, the liver and the other parts of the body, they produce. It's a huge factory inside. Though it looks very small, but it's a huge factory. So you have a huge industrial establishment in the body, which digests the food, which converts them into different chemicals, and then nourishes different parts of the body. So that is another part. Then you have a great intellectual power. You have a great mind there. You have power to debate. You have buddhi. So the mind and buddhi, they are great complexes in their own way, and all these are part of this city. So in this city, you have intellectuals, you have mathematicians, you have artist people, you have sitting, and a huge population, you have industrial complex. So everything which exists outside is there inside your body mind complex. And now Dware, it has 9 gates. This city has 9 gates. 9 gates are 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears. These are 6. Then 7 is mouth, and 8 and 9 are the sense organs of urination and waste disposal. So these are the 9 gates of this city, and this is the largest city we have, and that is why he has called it Naudware Pure Dehi. 9 द्वारों की सिटी है ये देही. ये जो शरीर जो है, देही मीन शरीर, ये जो शरीर जो है 9 द्वारों की बहुत बड़ा शहर है. अब इसमें what they say that अंतःकरण जिसके वश में है, if you are able to, antakaran is it is a very complex word to understand in today's context, because it has four different parts. Antakaran is mind, it is also buddhi, the intellect, it is also chit, and all the interaction between all of them is part of antakaran. And then some people say that it's also linked to this, the soul, and therefore soul is also part of it. So all this complex process which operates inside is antakaran. Now isko vash mein karna. So basically we have to control the mind and the intellect and the chit. Chit is the fluctuating part of the mind, which keeps vacillating all the time, ups and down, here and there, moving. It's like the wind flowing all the time. So it's again, the chit is very, वो कहते हैं ना, चित्त चित्त में आपका मन बदल रहा है, तो चित्त चित्त मीन्स it's a very fraction of a second, a very very small fraction of a second, is keep moving. So this is how he says that those people who are able to control that part, then that person is not doing anything and is not getting anything done. He is not doing anything and is not getting anything done. And in that kind of person can live in this city of nine gates very peacefully, and he is all the time established in the Almighty. So this is a very, I would say, important verse number 13, in which he has explained what is this whole complex in which we are sitting. The Naudware Pure Dehi, in this whole complex where we are sitting. And if we are able to control the antakaran, the mind, the intellect, and the chit, mainly these three parts, if we are able to control, then we are not doing anything, we are not getting done anything, and we are all the time established in the Almighty. So this is the crux of this verse. I think this is very important. Now, that's why I explained in the beginning that how do we deassociate or disassociate ourselves from the mind and the senses. That's a process which is very important, that comes with meditation. It comes with manan, internal thinking, how I can disassociate. What is my, role in this world? Why have I come here? And what, without me, the world existed. After I would be dead, world will continue to exist. Nothing will be impacted by me. I don't leave a great impact on this world. Even the greatest people in the world have died without leaving any impact on the world. Nobody knows about them. For example, we might know about Ashok in our country, but there are many people who don't even know who Ashok is. There are millions and billions of people who don't know who is Ashoka the Great. So you see, and we don't know some of those great personalities which are considered great by others. So this is only the value we assign to an individual. It is not the individual's value. We assign a particular value to XYZ and we consider them great. But in the overall context of the universe, as I mentioned, the earth is not even a dot. On the earth, we are not even a dot. And what kind of control we can exercise in this universe? This is a infinite. There are trillions of planets and solar systems in this whole universe. What kind of control we can exercise? If we start thinking in that process, then we will realize that what can I do? I'm not doing anything. I'm just a instrument in the hand of a larger power, and whatever the larger power is telling me to do, I do it. That's it. I think that thinking has to come. Then slowly you will get disassociated with the actions you are doing, and you will lose the feeling of that I am the doer. That feeling of that I am the doer should gradually go away. It's a gradual process, but it will go away. I also used to think that I'm the one who is looking after the family, I'm the one who is doing that, I'm the one who is doing that. Even sometimes by chance I end up telling this kind of thing. But now I realize that no, I'm not anything here. Everything exists on their own way. Even when we say, oh, I'm your father, listen to me, now that is also an ego process. It's not anything else. Though the relationship of father and son is there biologically, but the son is an independent entity, and I am an independent entity in that sense. So this is how the life moves. So we are not really the doer in this world. The things happen in their own rhythm. The rhythm is set by the supreme power, and the rhythm takes its own what you call route, and that route we all following. For example, we follow a fashion trend. Somebody says these days this is the kind of t-shirt you should wear, or you are wearing an old style shirt now, that is not good enough. Now what happens? Without thinking, we just follow the fashion. We just follow, okay, everybody doing, I do it. And after some time you won't even get other things in the market, because the fashion has become so prominent that even if you want to, if somebody wants to wear a sari, the sari is not available in the market because the fashion of other things has become dominant. So the thing is that we follow the trend. The trend is what? It is a universal thinking which has overtaken the rest of the things. And this is what happens in the world. So we are overtaken. It does not mean that you don't have original thinking. Don't misunderstand me. We must have our original thinking. And we should, uh, you know, see that if we can improve things, we should do that. But our role is not that I am the person who can do the improvement. You simply say that I play my role, and it is the samasti, it is the almighty, it is the supreme power which will do the rest. So that is how we have to look at it. So these three verses, 11, 12 and 13, are all on that we have to disassociate our body mind complex from the actions, from the asakti, not disassociate in the sense of physical disassociation, in the sense of the word is sangam tyaktva, that we, the association of the two, the asakti ko todna, that thinking that I'm doing this, that process should go away. And once we are able to get rid of that process, then we are all the time established in the Almighty. That is what Lord Krishna is saying, and that is what he has explained in very profound way in verse number 13, and also 11 and also 12. In 12, he has said that if you do sakam karm, then you will have to take the results and the consequences of the results, and you'll have to come back into this world and continue to live in this world, and the cycles will continue so long as the asakti remains in the action and their outcome. Now verse number 14, this is a very amazing verse, 14 and 15. परमेश्वर मनुष्यों के न तो कर्तापन की, न कर्मों की, और न कर्म फल के संयोग की रचना करते, किंतु स्वभाव ही स्वभाव में बरत रहा है. Now this is amazing statement which is not easy to find. He says that Paramatma is not doing anything. The actions you are doing, Paramatma is not involved in that. The results which come out of those actions, Paramatma is not involved in that. And therefore, Paramatma is completely free from what you are doing. Now, this looks very, owed from what I said little while ago, that this, the whole samasti is run by the Almighty, and He has a scheme, and we basically follow that overall scheme. So this goes against that. But how? You see, He has created the nature, Prakriti and Purus. These are the two components. Now, Purus is the one who is the supreme power, and Prakriti is the one which regulates itself. Now, Prakriti is like, for example, sun rises at a particular time, sets at a particular time. Then, with the sunrise, the life begins of the humanity, and we get energy, and our digestive system works, our hunger comes, and then at the end of the day, we feel sleepy, we feel tired, our hunger is satisfied, and you go to sleep. This is Prakriti. This happens automatically. You are born, you become a child, and then you become old and young, and then you become still, say in your 40s, middle age, and then you become older, and then you die. Now, this is a cycle which happens on its own. And the God is not doing anything here. The Almighty is not doing anything. It's the cycle which runs on its own. So, this is the kind of cycles he has created in this nature. The swabhav is basically here, the word swabhav, swabhavastu pravartate. That word is basically nature. That nature has its own rhythm, and that rhythm is controlling the activities of this universe. That rhythm is once created, it's like a law which is in a state of automation which keeps running. Like I see in America, there are many automatic things have come, and they keeps running on their own rhythm. They have a rhythm of their own, and they run on that rhythm, and when that rhythm is over, then they stop. So similarly, the nature has its rhythm, and in that rhythm we do the activities. The activities, outcome of that activities also comes out of that rhythm, and the results which we see is also coming out of that rhythm. So everything is happening in the process of nature. The Almighty, the Supreme, is not involved in that entire process. He has just created the nature, and that's it. Now the nature regulates everything else. So this is how the nature is, we can call it samasti. The samasti is regulating the whole thing. Vyakti and samasti. Vyakti is individual, and samasti is the rest, the holistic part. The whole regulates the individual part. So this is what he has explained, that परमात्मा कुछ नहीं करता है, न आपको फल करवा, न आपसे काम करवाता है, न आपको फल देता है, न फलों को देने के लिए जिम्मेदारी लेता है. ये सिर्फ स्वभाव से अपने आप प्रकृति के वश में होके होता चला जा रहा है. This verse has also been repeated somewhere else, that प्रकृति ही प्रकृति में बरत रही है. We are not the doer, we are not. Similarly, even परमात्मा कहता है मैं नहीं कर रहा, तो हम तो होते ही कौन है करने वाले. This is what we have to understand from this verse, that if the Almighty Himself is saying that I'm not regulating anything here, so how can we regulate things here? We cannot regulate things here. And that gives us inspiration that we are nowhere, we are nothing, and still we believe that we are the doer. And this kind of thinking will lead you to a state where you will get detached from the actions you are doing. So this is how this verse, this is very amazing verse. इसके आगे he continues on the same format. In the next verse is explanation of the same, the previous one, 14. सर्वव्यापी परमेश्वर न किसी के पाप कर्म को, न किसी के शुभ कर्म को ग्रहण करता है. He is not concerned whether you are doing right or wrong. He is not concerned, not he is associated with it. किंतु अज्ञान के द्वारा ज्ञान ढका हुआ है, उसी से सब अज्ञानी पुरुष मोहित हो रहे हैं. Now this is very अज्ञानेन नावृतम ज्ञानम तेन मुह्यंति जंतवः. This is the second part of this verse, the second line of this sloka. अज्ञानेन आवृतम ज्ञानम. ज्ञान अज्ञान से आवृत है, उससे ढका हुआ है, और उससे सारे जीव जो हैं वो मोहित हो रहे हैं. The word here is used jantva. Jantva is not only for humans but all the forms of life. All the forms of life. So basically, the Paramatma is not associated with our day-to-day activities. He is not involved anywhere. But we cannot disassociate ourselves with those activities. Therefore, that is the agyan, that is what you call darkness. That darkness leads us to believe that. That is how it happens. Now, let me give you an example for this, how Paramatma is not associated with all that. For example, we talk about this universe. In this universe, there are billions and trillions of planets and solar systems. Now they're rolling in this space all around. Now in this space, they collide. Some of them, also are destroyed, and something new is formed. This is what science will also tell you. The stars and planets are destroyed and new are formed. This happens every single day, but we cannot see them physically because they are too far from our eyesight, and our eyes cannot reach there. Not even the scientific instruments can reach. Some of them can be captured by science today, but not most of them. Now, there's a space here all over. In this space, all this is happening. The space remains unaffected. Things are created, things are destroyed. There's a fire, there's a volcanic eruption, there is, flooding, there is, what we call homicides, there are killings, there are good people doing their activities, they are donating. All this is happening in this space. The same way as the planets are rolling, activities are happening in this space, but space remains unaffected. Does it affect? It doesn't affect the space at all. Like in a space, we can create a house. Next person comes and he demolishes the house. He creates a go down. The third comes, he creates a restaurant. Fourth comes something else. The space remains as it is, inside as well as outside. Space is not impacted. There's another word in Sanskrit called limpanti. Now that once you touch the water remains on your hand. It's limpanti. You touch the the soil remains on your hands. That is limpanti. But you touch the space all the time. Here we are touching this space. It doesn't limpanti. It doesn't remain on your fingers. So space remains completely away from all these activities. It's like we take an example of a TV screen. On the TV screen, you play different kinds of movies. You have somebody is playing basketball, somebody is playing cricket, and then somebody is playing a film which has fire and flooding and killings, and then somebody comes with another film where there is a drama of a family, and somebody else comes with something else. There are millions and kinds of things. Somebody plays music, somebody plays something else. Millions of things can come and go on that screen. Screen remains unaffected. The screen with the fire doesn't get destroyed. With the flood, it doesn't get flooded. Similarly, the space remains, the wider space of the universe remains unaffected completely. So, in the same way, the Almighty remains unaffected from all these activities which are happening. These activities are happening because of the natural flow of things which are there. That is what he wants to explain, that I am not the doer. मैं किसी के पाप कर्म को नहीं लेता, किसी के शुभ कर्म को नहीं लेता. कौन क्या करता है मेरे को उससे कोई मतलब नहीं है. सिर्फ अज्ञान की वजह से आप ये सोचते हैं कि मैं ये कर रहा हूँ, मैं ये नहीं कर रहा हूँ. ये सिर्फ अज्ञान है. ज्ञान तो सिर्फ यही है कि ये सिर्फ नेचर नेचर में बढ़त रहा है, मैं कुछ नहीं कर रहा. नेचर इज, you know, taking its own course in its own way. There's a rhythm of nature. Mm, that rhythm of nature is happening on its own, not because of any control by the Almighty. So this is what he says. So अगर परमात्मा ही नहीं कर रहे हैं तो हम कहाँ से कर पाएंगे? अगर वो ही नहीं करते हैं तो हम कहाँ से कर पाएंगे? Now verse number 16. परंतु जिनका वह अज्ञान परमात्मा के तत्व ज्ञान द्वारा नष्ट कर दिया गया है, उनका वह ज्ञान सूर्य के सदृश उस सच्चिदानंद घन परमात्मा को प्रकाशित कर देता है. नाउ सूर्य क्या करता है? When there is a total darkness and sun rises, you are able to see things. There may be a very large building in front of you. You can't see it because there's darkness. So darkness is like a jnana. But once the sun comes there, then you can see. So jnana is like prakash. It gives you the knowledge of the things. The reality is known only when you get jnana. The reality that the building is existing comes to be known to you, or a tree is existing comes to be known to you only when the sun comes out. The sun also means electricity, that is also sun in a way. Any form of light is sun. So that gives you that knowledge. Similarly, that knowledge takes away all the jnana which we have, that I am the doer. This body-mind complex is not the doer. Things are happening in the rhythm of the nature. The body-mind complex is part of the nature because it has been come from the nature. The food which we eat makes this body-mind complex. It nourishes this body-mind complex, and the food is part of nature. And therefore, this whole process is a natural process. And once we know that knowledge, once we get to understand that knowledge, then you are not involved. Then जैसे सूर्य के आने पे, प्रकाश होने पे सब चीज़ें दिख जाती हैं, वैसे ही ज्ञान होने के बाद मनुष्य को ये पता लग जाता है कि ये सब चीज़ें अपने आप हो रही हैं, मैं कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूँ. और वो आप परमात्मा में जैसे आकाश आकाश से मिल जाता है, उसी तरह से ये परमात्मा और आत्मा एक हो जाते हैं. जैसे ये आकाश जिस कमरे में मैं बैठा हूँ उसमें भी आकाश है. अब इस कमरे की दीवारें जब टूटेंगी तो वो आकाश आकाश से मिल जाएगा, बाहर का आकाश अंदर का आकाश एक हो जाएगा. बट इवन विदाउट दैट इट्स द सेम थिंग. बट माई फीलिंग इज दैट दिस इज डिफरेंट देन द आउटसाइड. दैट इज एन इल्यूजन. It is different because we have created a wall around it, because we have created a roof over it. So it is different. Otherwise, it's also Akash. Without Akash, can you create a room? There's no room. There's no house without Akash. The whole fight is on the space. कि मेरे को जगह चाहिए. वो जगह क्या है? जगह is basically the space. Without that space, you can't even create those walls. So what we do, we first take the space, then we create a wall. The wall is the body-mind complex. And that wall gives us an illusion that I'm separate from the rest. And then we start operating differently. Now, once these walls are away from our mind, and we can demolish these walls in our mind, and we feel that this body-mind complex and the outside Akash is the same, then things would be very different. And that is what Gyan and Agyan is. Then the next verse is actually, you must have heard it being quoted many times. It's a very deep verse. It's not easy. The word tat has been used 4 times here. We'll just go into that. जिसका मन तद्रूप हो रहा है, जिसकी बुद्धि तद्रूप हो रही है, और सच्चिदानंद घन परमात्मा में ही जिसकी निरंतर एक ही भाव से स्थिति है, ऐसे तत्परायण पुरुष ज्ञान के द्वारा पाप रहित होके अपुनरावृत्ति को अर्थात परम गति को प्राप्त होते हैं. नाउ tat, this word tat has, we also say tattvamasi. Now tat has been used for the Almighty who is not known, not seen by anybody in a physical form. What you see is a glimpse of him in the form of Ram or Krishna or whatever divinity you consider. You see a glimpse of it, but not him. So tadroop. Tadroop means tad has been used by the people who consider Almighty as tat. It is not male, female, it is just that, basically. This is also ij. Like we always say, I am. Am is part of ij, or mountain is, river is. River is flowing, mountain is standing, the tiger is running. Now, ij is the thing that is showing the existence. The ij is permanent. The existence, the being, that being is permanent. Similarly, here that tadroop is basically that permanence which always exists. And that permanence appears in different forms to different people. So that permanence has been referred as tat. Tat, which is eternal, which is always existing, that is being, which has been interpreted in different ways by different people. But here, this is tat buddhiya. If you are able to think in his way, in the way which has been explained above, परमात्मा की तरह से आप सोचने लग जाओगे. फिर आप जैसे ही आप उनकी बुद्धि आपको मिल जाएगी, हैं, उनकी बुद्धि मिलेगी, उनका मन मिलेगा, उनकी शक्ति मिलेगी, देन आप परमात्मा ही बन जाओगे. दैट इज व्हाट ही सेज. आत्म तत्परायण हो जाओगे आप. तो वंस यू एसोसिएट विद दैट सुप्रीम पावर, and if your mind, if your intellect, if your entire body mind complex is tatparayan ho gaya, उससे के he has overtaken you, then I think nothing else is needed. तो ऐसा तत्परायण पुरुष जो है वो पाप रहित हो जाता है. He can do nothing wrong because he considered the whole universe as one single entity, and he considers him as part of that entity. And ऐसे लोग apunravati means he doesn't come back into this world because he has overcome this world. Like in the state of deep sleep, we overcome this world. Similarly, in the waking state, we are able to disassociate our sense organs and mind from the happenings of the world. Then we become tatparayan. That is what tatparayan means. Tatparayan means that we are disassociating our mind-body complex or body-mind complex from the activities, and we are not considering ourselves at the doer. Everything is happening in its own rhythm. स्वभाव से हो रही हैं, nature से हो रही हैं, and I am just a flow, like a drop of the water is flowing in the river. It goes with the river, it goes to the ocean, then ocean takes it up in the sky, and then again in the forms of the cloud, and then comes back. It is all happening naturally on its own rhythm. There's a rhythm associated with it. If that drop of the water think that I'm running this water cycle, then I think that's a big mistake. And that is what we do. We do a big mistake thinking that we are running this world. And at least people sitting in some big capital, they feel that they are running the world, and they are totally mistaken there. So this is what the things are happening. Tatparayan Purus means basically the person who has left everything to Tat, everything to the Supreme Lord, that He is the ultimate. I'm not the doer. I'm not involved in anything, and I flow with the waves. Like I'm like a small little wave in the ocean, and I flow with the waves. That's it. The wind takes me here and there, and I go and collide against the shores, and then again come back, and then again go and collide against the shores, and again come back. That is happening to us. We go and we again come back, we go and again come back, go and again come back. That punaravrati will stop as soon as we realize the reality that I am the ocean, I am not the wave. I am the ocean. And therefore, the waves, will have, they just keep on the top of it. Once you go deep into the ocean, there are no waves at all. In fact, it's all quiet. Those people who have done, what they call gone inside the ocean, the snorkeling, and there's another word used for that. And once you go, say, 5 meters below in the ocean, it's all quiet, there's nothing. And people who go deep down, 1 mile down below in the ocean, they feel there's absolutely nothing, no movement at all. Things are absolutely still quiet. So this is what happens once we are tatparayan, then everything becomes still in ourselves. Our mind doesn't associate. It will work, but it will not going to associate uh, with things. It is not going to get attached to the things. Jo ho raha hai. I'm doing my role. That's it. So this is a very interesting verse here. The word tat has been used 4 times. Tat buddhi, tat atma, tat nishtha, and tat parayan. These are the four parts of this verse in the beginning. So once you are able to do all that, then I think, and it is not that difficult. It can come. It can come through meditation. Then verse number 18, वे ज्ञानी जन विद्या और विनय युक्त ब्राह्मण में तथा गौ हाथी कुत्ते और चांडाल में भी समदर्शी ही होते हैं. And naturally, once you are become tatparayan, when you completely immersed with the whole universe as one single entity, then everything is equal to you. Like in our body, there are millions of insects, and I don't know what all are living. You can give them different names. Uh, we are not concerned with them. We are not distinguishing between this and that. They are all the same inside. They have their own life inside. Similarly, everybody has their own life in this universe. This is a diverse manifestation. We see this diversity, but once we realize the unity behind it, that unity actually helps us in getting rid of the diversity. So, obviously, the people who have acquired that knowledge, then they cannot distinguish whether you are Brahman or you are Kshatriya or you are animal or you are human being or you are Chandal or you are dog. It doesn't matter. Everything is part of the universe. जिसका मन संभाव में स्थित है उसके द्वारा इस जीवित अवस्था में ही संपूर्ण संसार जीत लिया गया है. Sambhav. This word has been used by Lord Krishna in many places. He says that Sambhav is yogi. If you are able to have equanimity, then you are already yukt. Yukt means you are united with the Almighty. That is the definition of yogi. इस अवस्था में ही संपूर्ण संसार जीत लिया गया है, क्योंकि सच्चितानंद घन परमात्मा निर्दोष और सम है. जो सम होगा वो निर्दोष ही होगा, बिकॉज देयर इज नो मूवमेंट देयर. सो इट कैन नॉट हैव पाप एंड पुण्य. इट इज ऑल द टाइम quiet, calm, cool, without any movement. And that is a verse which you must have heard many times, कि जिसका मन संभाव में स्थित है उसने इस जीवित अवस्था में ही संपूर्ण संसार जीत लिया है. Nothing else to be done. Nothing else needs to be done. That's it. संभाव में चले जाओ. There is no good, no bad, no duality. The entire duality is over. It comes to an end. द्वैतवाद खत्म हो जाता है, न सवेरे है, न शाम है, न दुख है, न सुख है, न प्रेम है, न घृणा है, कुछ नहीं है. Everything is, is what you call evaluation by the mind. Mind gives these dualities. Mind cannot live without dualities. So this is the creation of the mind, the dualities. But in reality, these are not dualities. So संभाव में स्थित है तो संपूर्ण संसार जीत लिया गया. जो पुरुष प्रिय को प्राप्त होकर हर्षित नहीं होता और अप्रिय को प्राप्त होकर उद्विग्न न हो, वह स्थिर बुद्धि संशय रहित ब्रह्मवेता पुरुष. 3 वर्ड, स्थिर बुद्धि संशय रहित ब्रह्मवेता. ये these are all identical in the phrase here. स्थिर बुद्धो सम सम्मूढ़ो ब्रह्मविद ब्राह्मण स्थित. दिस इज वो परमात्मा में एक ही भाव से स्थित है. So all these things, these 10 verses which we have covered today, they are related to disconnecting the body-mind complex from the activities we are doing. Disconnecting not in the physical sense, disconnecting in the mental sense, that आसक्ति नहीं होनी चाहिए. एसोसिएशन तो होगा, आप काम करेंगे तो नेचुरली यू आर फिजिकली एसोसिएटेड विद दैट, बट इन द माइंड इट इज नॉट एन एसोसिएशन. द माइंड इज completely free from that association, then it is called nirasakt, not asakt. So once we have attained that kind of sthiti, then we are tatparayan, then we become one with the Almighty, then we already become some. There is no discrimination, no good, no bad, no heat and no cold, and no love and no hatred. All that becomes some, all that state. So all these verses which we have covered today, they basically tell us that let us disassociate the actions of our day-to-day activities from our mind and sense organs, from our body-mind complex, and then we will be completely free. And that is possible as it actually happens in the state of deep sleep. That body-mind complex is completely disassociated from the rest of the world. And that is the state where we need to reach. I think in this sense, the Mandukya Upanishad is very relevant in this chapter, and I can say that Krishna has given the crux of the Mandukya Upanishad here in this chapter number 5, particularly these 10 verses. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer. But this is a process of meditation. This is a process of meditation in the not in the sense that we do. Meditation means you keep thinking, manan and manthan. Manan and manthan, that is what we need to do. That how do I de-link myself from the activities and expectations of my life in this world. Thank you.